Hi, I'm Val. Welcome to my channel. I am coming to you today from rural Tennessee, the foothills of Appalachia, and I'm kind of sharing videos about day-to-day activities and kind of my what I call unforged path. Um, I used to actually be a college professor. I taught graphic design for more than 2 decades. I loved what I did. I also am very passionate about my subject, right? Being an artist and being a designer is something that I'm just, is kind of, you know, once you're at that point, it's like in your blood, right? Um, but I was becoming so disenchanted with work, the work environment that I was being subjected to, a little bit more of a toxic workplace than most people um, are subjected to. And if you see some of the videos that I've posted about I Quit, I didn't really have that option of moving laterally. If you get a teaching job, you actually have to move where the teaching job is. And you have to start over, right? So you have to make new friends, you have to find a place to live, all those kinds of things. So I also, in some of my travels, was very curious about like what people do in the countryside. Here's Hank. Hi, Hank. Like, how does one make a living? Like, what do people do, right? So, not growing up in a quote unquote country environment, um, I think that I think many people maybe have kind of a um, glorified or fantasy of what that means, right? So originally it was like chickens and goats. I have chickens, but I don't have goats. I have donkeys for the first time. Um, I never had horses before, so donkeys were something that I discovered could be a little bit more manageable. Um, and I think that I was at the point where things had gotten so bad where I was, um, that I was really also making decisions out of a little bit of desperation, of really having this internal desire to do something new. And my field of design and teaching, you can kind of change what you're doing, but it really is this Groundhog Day kind of experience where the academic calendar starts and you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. And the older I got, the students were still the same age. It was very like mind F, you know? Um, so I began to think about maybe shifting gears while I still had some energy and age in me and try something completely different and literally start over. Literally, instead of moving laterally, finding a design job or finding even staying where I was and finding like a waiting tables job or something like that. Um, so I kind of made that really, really drastic step. I left my career several years ago and have been figuring out life in the countryside. Um, Hank, what's up, baby? What's up? So, one of the challenges that I did not anticipate when I was thinking about this was how, um, all of the day to day routine things and the things that I would have to do physically. So, today's video, I'm actually talking about trash and going to the landfill. It does not seem glamorous at all. But what I like about it most is the kind of responsibility of understanding my own consumption and how that impacts the space around me and the county, and how the fact that there are people that are employed to kind of like handle all of this stuff, what is recyclable, what's not, what's considered household trash, and what goes into the landfill part of the landfill where they cover it up with dirt. So it's really been a fascinating kind of life experience and like eye opening as to just kind of like how our world works, right? So I've also been kind of on this path of limiting my consumption. There are terms called conspicuous consumption, and that is like just doing and buying things like out of nowhere. And a lot of corporations and brands are they integrate conspicuous consumption into their products. They're designed to fail at a certain length of the span of time of the product, right? So that you have to buy something new. Keep seeing ads for, join our phone plan and we'll give you a phone for free. It's just become part of our industrialized society that we have these things that are made, and in order for the companies to stay profitable, they constantly have to um, create new versions and create ways in which the object that you just purchased is no longer valid, right? So this is in fast fashion, cars, all these different things. And if you see people posting about things like, oh, the refrigerator from the 50s, or the cars from the 50s, or tractors now, um, you there are some policies in some states that are good thing legislatively starting to happen because computers started getting integrated into more machinery. So for example, companies that sell tractors have like clauses that you're not allowed to like repair your own tractor. So there are some legislative things that are happening in the US that I think are helpful for this conspicuous consumption. But also when I've traveled, a lot of the things that have bothered me about places, some of the places that I've traveled to, and then also where I used to live that motivated me to move to Tennessee, back to Tennessee, is just the amount of litter everywhere, right? And just like the trash truck could be driving down the road and like things are flying out of it, and just there's just like things flying around. So for me, having to take my own trash to the physical space feels a little bit more responsible. I've tried to cut down my impact in some ways of like the type of packaging, and just I don't really buy a lot of things anymore. Um, and I try to find secondary uses for things. So in some of my videos, I've been talking about like how do I literally keep the string from the hay bales, or keep the feed bags and reuse them. So a lot of times I keep the feed bags and reuse them for trash bags. Um, yeah, so if someone is thinking about how dreamy it might be to live in the countryside and have a lot of acreage, there are some things that maybe you wouldn't realize that you have to deal with. Now, there I'm outside of a city limit of the county of where I live, and there is an independent contracting company that I could pay to have weekly trash service. And all of my neighbors actually pay this. I actually have no idea how much it costs because I haven't asked. Um, so I see them putting their really overfull bins out on the street, and then every once a week, I hear the literally a pickup truck, not a garbage truck, and like one or two guys are there and like throw the stuff in the back of the pickup truck. So there's not like an effort to recycle from that company, um, and also the landfill, our maintenance, the whatever it's called, actually only accepts number one clear plastic bottles like water bottles and milk jugs. Nothing else is accepted. So if you are going through all of your plastics and there's like the plastic wrapping of the spaghetti or whatever, the plastic container that you bought your spinach in or your vegetables, none of that is recyclable. That's all trash. Um, the soap, the laundry detergent, all of that is trash. It is not recyclable. They don't accept glass. So I keep all of the glass that is used by me or anyone else that comes to my place so that I could reuse them for some sort of creative project down the road. I also personally decided to keep those plastic items with the goal that eventually I might actually reuse them for creative projects. So there's lots of really fun craft ideas on how to make terrariums and just all sorts of like little craft ideas out of these objects that are really designed to just have one use and then be put into the trash. Um, so, and then they take aluminum cans and they take cardboard. I'm keeping cardboard right now for um, the land, just cover up weeds and stuff like that. I've just felt like cardboard is a little bit easier, except for packaging, right? So the box from this pasta, that is, I take that to the landfill because it has ink and all that kind of stuff. So I keep clean, plain brown boxes, but everything else I take to the landfill. So I'm sitting in the back of my van, and I am not someone who thought they would actually ever own a minivan, but man, I should have gotten one of these things a long time ago. The gas efficiency, whoa, it's so much better than, what was I thinking? A big gas SUV. So some of the things that were happening to me when I was living up north is that I was just like so cold all the time. And, so all of those things that we kind of do in our contemporary society, like we go out, we go to eat, we go to the mall, we go to do whatever, all of that just really started to become like boring to me. I don't know, not boring, just like it just didn't feel like it was fulfilling, right? It just felt like going through the motions of what everyone else is going through. And I actually used to, like, when I was younger, I worked in retail, I worked in a mall, I used to buy lots of clothes, like all of those things. So I think that I've had to go through that kind of lifestyle to realize like maybe that's not important to me anymore. So going out to eat and some of those things, it's not really that important. So quitting a job where I had a guaranteed salary, I had pretty good benefits and, time where you're only really working like 8 months a year rather than 12 months a year. Why would someone walk away from that and go into a place that they have so much labor and work to do? But again, I wanted a new challenge. All right, so over here, you're going to see, and the sun is, oh my gosh, I'm being photobombed by Hank. Dude, I'm going to put stuff in the van. I'm going to put stuff in here. I'm going to put stuff in here. So when I first started doing trash runs, I did use the van and then had a little accident with like something spilling. So then I started using a trailer, and for a few years I actually had like a second vehicle that was like a junk vehicle, and I used the junk vehicle to take trash because it was no big deal and I filled it up. But this van actually has more room in it than the junk vehicle SUV. So today is going to be the first time I'm actually filling this up and taking stuff to the landfill. And I thought I would take you along with me so you can see some of the road, the drive, how pretty it is outside. You can see that there's hay. So occasionally I do have to get like square bales for the donkeys. So this has basically turned into more of a utility vehicle than I ever had imagined. I love this van. Apparently they don't make them anymore. So there was one other thing that I wanted to mention when I was thinking about making this video, and hopefully it'll come to me. Okay, so one of the challenges that I have found while I've been here is the volume of trash when there's other people around. So my original intention when I walked away from my career and I bought this property was kind of the sharing economy. And I started a artist writer residency program and also have lodging that at some point I did have on like Airbnb and VRBO and all that kind of stuff. The challenges with those have been managing other people's consumption. So basically, I'm like the trash person, right? I'm the garbage man. I'm the maintenance person. I'm the like everything. I do marketing, I do the web, I do all this stuff. So I can't do trash every day and I can't do it every week. So sometimes, oh gosh. So I have to come up with a system because the majority of people going about their everyday lives are used to just putting things in a trash can and just like going about their lives. They don't like think about like the next steps, right? So like when I lived in a city suburb, there was trash collection once a week. So your trash bin gets full and then you take it to the road. Well, where I'm actually physically sitting at this moment in time is, I have no idea. Like, it's pretty far to the road. So, like, taking trash to the road is also just like a physical logistic that you can't do every day. So, some of the challenges that I had was when during the height of the pandemic, um, or during the summer of 2020, I actually, Tennessee was open, so people had groups staying, and then I just had an overwhelming amount of garbage. I really just don't understand it. I don't understand where all the trash is coming from. Like I don't. So this I'm creating this video. Like I said, I'm trying to limit my own consumption. If there's any organic waste, I'm composting it. I never used to do that before. Yeah, so I also try to urge people to hold certain things out of the trash can to kind of like condense what's in a bag. So, a group would come for a weekend, and then I've got like four big giant trash bags full of trash that is mixed with like, you can hear the bottles of glass and the cans and the whatevers, right? The food, everything's all mixed in there. So I can't even sort that out. And it just is gut wrenching to me to like um, have that kind of footprint to like just throw things away. And especially because I'm seeing the ecosystem of it, right? Like I'm not separating myself from it. I'm not just putting it in a trash can and like somebody else deals with it. Like I go and I'm chatting with the people that actually like work at the landfill. Um, And lastly, I've been to other places, other countries that deal with trash in a completely different way. So for example, in Japan, you don't it's really like frowned upon. Like Japanese people would chase you down if you're walking on the street with food. Like it's super frowned upon. Um, like takeaway cups and like stuff like that is not something that they do. It's more customary to like spend the time to sit and eat, right? Rather than our fast paced, like take drive through, blah, 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 take everything, we're always on the go. So they handle their trash in a completely different way. They have recycling bins like on the streets. It's really cool. They also, because they're a very small country, they've developed a whole kind of ecosystem of like burn trash, recycle, like they have it down. I spent a good amount of time at a friend's house in Italy, and they had color coded bags in which to place certain types of trash. Everything, including the organic waste, the compost stuff. And I really wish that in the US we could develop some of these better systems so that we could be managing our. Okay, I'm getting a little long winded. We had a little cat interaction there. Hank is still getting used to his role on the property. So I'll just kind of show you a little bit of my pile, and there's like heavy shadows here. There we go. Yeah, so I've had to learn how to just kind of set aside the anxiousness of having a pile. of trash, right? Until I can schedule it into my day. I would say that the whole process, depending on how much I have to do, is really several hours because, loading, cleaning the car out, loading the car. And I'm going to stop and get a few more things on the driveway out because I have multiple dwellings, like I mentioned. And then driving down there, and that length of time is not like a huge issue. But I also like to kind of like coordinate other errands when I'm driving into town. So when I used to live in suburban and urban areas, no matter what, it was a minimum of 20 minutes to get anywhere, really. Even walking down the street a couple of blocks is a good 10, 15, 10 minutes to get somewhere. So it's not really the time and length of time in the car. That was one of the things that just drove me nuts of where I was before, that it was like 30-minute commute in the morning and it could be 2-hour commute coming home, depending on the weather, depending on the time of day, depending on whether the time had changed and the sun is lower and everyone's having accidents, all those kinds of things. So now living like 20 minutes drive to a landfill and an hour to like a bigger city and then 2 hours to a metropolitan just doesn't seem like it's that bad, right? Because I used to do that all the time. I used to be in the car constantly every day. And I just felt like there's got to be more to life than sitting in my car. Um, there's got to be more to life than working for this system and being mentally, that allows you to just be mentally, physically, not physically, but psychologically kind of like taunted and for no real benefit, really. I mean, do you trade a paycheck for that, right? So anyway, watch my I Quit videos. Explains a lot more of that. So I have my piles here. I have a little bit of recycling. I'll reuse those trash bags, which is something that I couldn't carry. And this looks like it's more than it is, but you can see that I'm reusing. Well, it's not that big. Okay, so I'm all loaded up. I actually have more trash than normal because this stuff is from a renovation project that's been sitting. It's going to rain in a couple of days, so I wanted to get all of this done before it rains. And I'll probably do trash again in maybe 3 weeks. Let me go close the door. Sometimes I'm just using the trash can and lifting it up, which is so much easier because it doesn't have like a high clearing. And then when I was doing that in the SUV, it was really hard, heavy. So anyway, let's go for a ride. Love that hill. So this area of Tennessee is actually known for logging. You can see these pine trees here to the left and to the right. The cool thing is these forests will be cut down and then grow back, and it takes 10 to 20 years or 20 to 30 years for it to grow back. So every once in a while you'll see logging trucks on these roads. So it's a really interesting industry, and I learned more about the fact that it actually is a little bit more sustainable, at least in this area. They're not clear cutting and digging everything up. I don't really know what the difference is, what that's called, but so a section of that road is just really windy, and I needed extra hands, my extra driving hands. So we are going to be coming to the first stop sign here. And a lot of property being sold, purchased within the last couple of years. Didn't have as many houses out here. 2019, 2020. So for me, this is just a really nice being in the car rather than crazy commute on the highway that I used to have with lots of potholes and being afraid the highway of the bridge is going to crumble underneath your car, that kind of thing. So my stress level has gone way down. A couple ways to get there. I'm going to go this way here. Take a left. Get a little bit more scenery. Did have a storm come through here in March. See some of the trees. Ah! It's considered the foothills of Appalachian Mountains, and you can kind of tell by the windiness and how we're going up and down. Took a naturalist class during the pandemic and learned a little bit more about the geology. So anytime you see the red dirt, that's called chert. And then the next level is sandstone. And then there's limestone. So around here, there's lots of limestone, lots of creeks, watershed. Really is a beautiful day. Now I can tell we're on the little bit lower side of those foothills, coming down from the ridge top, like over there. Still lots of windy. A lot of this area, when it becomes flat, is great for farming. And one of the things I think a lot about is that once you take farmland and you turn it into commercial real estate or a suburb, you no longer have farmland. So Where's the food and the farm stuff come from? So hopefully development around this area will stay away for a while. There's a city about an hour's drive that farmland is being sold and factories are being built. I had a conversation with a residency participant a few months ago who was an exchange student from China, and he talked about how everything's become factories and industrialized. There is no more nature. There's no estimate. There were squirrels and stuff like that. Just said no, they don't have creatures around. I really don't want to live like that, so I'm happy to be out here and driving my van load of trash to the landfill. They have a recycling business over there, different from the county landfill. All empty. Cars are coming in slowly, and most often there's somebody here to help, but I like to also help do it. So that was fun. I hope you enjoyed the ride. It's a beautiful view. It's a beautiful time of year. Blue skies. This rain is coming our way in a couple of days. Feels like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, where you get to like just say hi to people in their daily life and, you know, making a living. Yeah. So if you like this video, do all the things you need to do. Subscribe for more stories about my life, learning about how to navigate the country, you know, life in the countryside, trials, tribulations, those kinds of things. And then on Fridays, I post a video series called First Fridays, where I start at the river, read some poetry, and go for a short walk, about 20-30 minute total video. So check those out, and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Bye.